Captain Jake Morrison looked out at the dark space from his ship's command center. The UES Defiance was moving through the empty area between star systems. Jake had been a ship captain for 12 years, but this mission felt different. Earth had built this ship using new technology, and not many people knew how powerful it really was. Amy Foster sat at her control station nearby. She was the ship's weapons officer, and had been working with Jake for 3 years. Amy was watching the scanner screens when something caught her attention. A message was coming through the communication system. It was not from Earth. "Captain, we have a distress call," Amy said. She pressed some buttons and the message played through the speakers. The voice sounded strange and scared. It was speaking in the galactic common language that humans had learned 5 years ago. "This is Captain Zyler of the Zephyrian cargo ship Blue Wind. We are under attack by Kralix pirates. Our weapons are damaged. We need help immediately." Jake stood up from his chair. The Zephyrians were one of the friendly alien races that humans had met. They were tall, blue-skinned people who liked to trade goods between different planets. The Kralix were different. They were raiders who attacked other ships and took whatever they wanted. "How far away are they?" Jake asked. Amy checked her instruments. "About 2 hours at normal speed, Captain." Jake smiled a little. Normal speed was what the aliens expected human ships to move at. The Galactic Council thought human technology was basic and slow. They had no idea what human ships could really do. "Take us there at full speed," Jake ordered. Amy pressed several controls. The Defiance suddenly moved much faster than any alien would think possible. The ship's special engines could bend space itself, making the journey much shorter. Instead of 2 hours, they would arrive in 20 minutes. Ben Taylor was sitting at another station. He was the ship's science officer and understood how their secret technology worked. Ben had helped design some of the weapons that were hidden inside the Defiance. From the outside, the ship looked old and simple. The aliens who saw it thought humans were still learning how to build spaceships. "Captain, I'm picking up the battle on long-range sensors," Ben said. 5 Kralix ships are attacking 1 Zephyrian cargo vessel. "The Zephyrians are losing badly." Jake nodded. This was exactly the kind of situation where humans could show their real strength without making it too obvious. The galaxy thought humans were weak and needed protection. That was exactly what Earth's government wanted them to think. 20 minutes later, the Defiance arrived at the battle zone. Jake could see the Kralix ships on the main screen. They were dark and covered with sharp metal spikes. The Kralix liked their ships to look scary. The Zephyrian ship was much larger, but it was damaged. Smoke and sparks were coming from several holes in its side. "Open a communication channel to the Kralix ships," Jake ordered. A rough voice answered. "Human ship, leave this area immediately. This does not concern your weak species." "I'm afraid I can't do that," Jake replied calmly. "You are attacking innocent traders. Please stop your attack and leave." The Kralix laughed. "1 small human ship against 5 Kralix warships? You must be joking. Leave now or we will destroy you after we finish with the Zephyrians." Jake looked at Amy. She was ready at her weapons controls. The Defiance had weapons that the Kralix could not imagine. Human scientists had been working in secret for years, developing technology far ahead of what anyone in the galaxy possessed. "Amy, target their engines and weapons," Jake said quietly. "Use kinetic rounds, level 3 power." Amy's fingers moved across her control panel. The Defiance had railguns that could fire metal projectiles at incredible speeds. These weapons were completely silent and nearly impossible to detect until they hit their target. The first Kralix ship exploded without warning. The metal projectile had hit its engine room at such high speed that the entire back section of the ship simply disappeared. The other 4 Kralix ships turned toward the human vessel in surprise. "What was that?" The Kralix commander shouted over the communication channel. "That was a warning," Jake replied. "Leave now." Instead of leaving, the Kralix ships opened fire with their energy weapons. Bright green beams shot toward the Defiance. But the human ship moved in ways that seemed impossible. It twisted and turned through space as if gravity did not affect it. Every energy beam missed. Amy fired again. 2 more Kralix ships exploded at the same time. The metal projectiles hit them so hard and so fast that their protective shields were useless. The 4th ship tried to run away, but another kinetic round caught it before it could escape. The last Kralix ship stopped moving. Its commander's voice was now full of fear. "What are you? Human ships cannot move like that. Human weapons cannot do this." "You're right," Jake said. "Most human ships cannot do this, but some can. Remember that." Jake cut the communication and turned to the Zephyrian ship. Captain Zeiler, this is Captain Morrison of the human ship Defiance. Are you safe? The Zephyrian captain's voice sounded amazed. Yes, we are safe. But how did you do that? I thought human technology was still developing. We've been making some improvements, Jake said simply. Do you need help with repairs? While Ben helped the Zephyrians fix their ship, Jake thought about what had just happened. Earth had been pretending to be weak and primitive for 5 years. During that time, human scientists had been studying alien technology and making it much better. The Defiance was just one of several ships that Earth had built in secret. The galaxy thought humans were barely capable of space travel. They offered humans basic help and treated them like children learning to walk. Earth's leaders had decided to let the aliens think this. It was better to be underestimated than to be seen as a threat too early. But now the secret was starting to come out. Jake knew that news of this battle would spread quickly through the galaxy. Alien governments would want to know how one human ship had defeated 5 Kralix warships so easily. Jake looked at his crew. Amy was checking her weapon systems. Ben was still helping the Zephyrians. They all knew that this was just the beginning. Earth had many more ships like the Defiance hidden in secret locations. When the time was right, the galaxy would learn the truth about human capabilities. The rescue had taken less than 5 minutes from start to finish. In the galactic military manuals, such a battle should have lasted hours. But human weapons and human ships were far beyond what those manuals described. Jake gave the order to return to Earth. There would be meetings and reports about this incident. But he was not worried. Everything was going according to plan. Commander Lisa Hayes sat in her office on the space station that served as headquarters for the Galactic Council. She was staring at a computer screen that showed the sensor recordings from the Kralix battle. Lisa had watched the recording 15 times and it still made no sense. Lisa worked for the Strategic Assessment Division, which meant her job was to study military threats across the galaxy. For 5 years, humans had been on her list as a primitive species that needed protection. Human ships were slow and simple. Human weapons were basic energy guns that barely worked. At least that was what everyone believed until yesterday. The door to her office opened and Dr. Marcus Webb walked in. Marcus was her assistant and one of the smartest military analysts in the galaxy. He was holding a datapad and looked very confused. Lisa, I've run the numbers on the human battle 20 different ways, Marcus said. The results are impossible every time. Lisa pointed at her screen. Show me what you found. Marcus sat down and connected his datapad to Lisa's computer. New information appeared on the screen. It showed graphs and charts with lots of numbers. Look at this, Marcus said, pointing at a red line on the graph. This shows how fast the human ship accelerated during the battle. According to our physics, no biological crew could survive those forces. They should have been crushed into paste. Lisa studied the numbers. Marcus was right. The human ship had moved in ways that should have killed everyone inside. But the crew had not only survived, they had fought perfectly during the entire battle. What about their weapons? Lisa asked. Marcus switched to another screen. That's even stranger. We detected no energy buildup before their shots. No charging time, no power signatures. The Kralix ships just exploded. It's like the humans were using some kind of weapon that our sensors cannot even see. Lisa leaned back in her chair. She had been studying military technology for 20 years. Every weapon system in the galaxy had certain signatures that sensors could detect. Energy weapons showed power buildups. Missile systems showed launch flashes. But the human weapons showed nothing at all until they destroyed their targets. Her communication device beeped. A message appeared on the screen from Admiral Vex, the Zephyrian officer whose ship had been saved by the humans. Commander Hayes, the message read, I need to speak with you about the human rescue. What I saw during that battle contradicts everything we know about human capabilities. Please contact me immediately. Lisa opened a communication channel to Admiral Vex. His blue face appeared on her screen. He looked worried and confused. Admiral, I've been studying the sensor data from your rescue, Lisa said. Can you tell me what you observed directly? Admiral Vex was quiet for a moment. Commander, I have been fighting in space for 30 years. I know what every type of weapon and ship can do. The human vessel moved like it was dancing through space. It avoided our enemy's weapons as if it knew where they would fire before they did. Did you get a good look at the human ship? Lisa asked. Yes, Admiral Vex replied. It looked old and simple. The hull was rough metal with visible welding marks. It should have been slow and clumsy. Instead, it moved with more grace than our finest racing ships. After the communication ended, Lisa walked to the window of her office. She could see dozens of ships from different species moving around the space station. Altarian vessels were elegant and smooth. Vortan ships were huge and covered with weapons. Hegemony ships looked like living creatures floating through space. All of these species had advanced technology that had taken thousands of years to develop. Humans had been in space for less than 100 years. How could they have weapons and ships that were better than everyone else's? Lisa's assistant Marcus came back with more data. I contacted other intelligence services, he said. The Altarians, Vortans, and Hegemony are all asking the same questions about human capabilities. What did they tell you? The Altarians have been monitoring human space for 2 years. They say human ships always move slowly and request help with basic repairs. The Vortans tried to scan human technology last year but found nothing unusual. The Hegemony offered to upgrade human weapons 6 months ago, and the humans politely said no. Lisa thought about this information. Either humans had developed incredible technology very recently, or they had been hiding their real capabilities for a long time. The second possibility was much more frightening. 3 hours later, Lisa was in a meeting with representatives from 12 different species. They were gathered in the council's main conference room. Everyone wanted answers about the human incident. Dr. Nathan Cross, Earth's diplomatic representative, sat at one end of the long table. He was a calm man with gray hair who always spoke politely. Nathan had been Earth's ambassador for 3 years, and everyone thought he was honest and straightforward. Senior Counselor Theiss of the Altarian Assembly spoke first. Dr. Cross, we need an explanation for what happened in the Kralix battle. Our sensors recorded impossible movements and weapon signatures from your ship. Nathan looked surprised. I'm not sure what you mean, Counselor. Captain Morrison simply rescued a ship in distress. Human determination has always been our greatest strength. This was not determination, said War Commander Korth of the Vortan Empire. This was technology far beyond what humans should possess. We demand to inspect human military vessels. Nathan shook his head. I'm afraid that would violate our sovereignty. However, I can assure you that humans pose no threat to galactic peace. We are still learning from our more advanced neighbors. Lisa watched Nathan carefully. He seemed genuinely confused by the questions, but something felt wrong. His answers were too smooth, too prepared. It was as if he had been expecting these questions. After the meeting, Lisa returned to her office to find an urgent message waiting for her. It was from Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship that had fought the Kralix. The message was simple. Commander Hayes, I would be happy to answer any questions about the rescue mission. However, I suggest you consider whether the questions you ask are the right ones. Lisa read the message 3 times. It sounded like a warning. Captain Morrison was telling her that there were bigger questions she should be asking, instead of focusing on one battle. That night, Lisa could not sleep. She kept thinking about human behavior over the past 5 years. Humans always asked for help with basic technology. They always seemed grateful for alien assistance. They always appeared to struggle with simple space travel. But what if this was all an act? What if humans had been studying every alien species while pretending to need help? What if they had been learning everyone's weaknesses while appearing weak themselves? Lisa got up and went back to her office. She began searching through 5 years of reports about human activity. She found hundreds of instances where humans had asked questions about alien technology, military capabilities, and defensive systems. At the time, these questions had seemed like the curiosity of a primitive species trying to learn. Now, Lisa realized the questions might have been intelligence gathering. She opened a secure communication channel to her superiors. This is Commander Hayes, she said when the connection was established. I need to issue a priority alert about the human situation. I believe we may have seriously underestimated their capabilities. The voice on the other end was sleepy and annoyed. Hayes, it's the middle of the night. What's so urgent about one human ship defeating some pirates? Sir, Lisa replied, I don't think it was just one ship. I think it was a demonstration. And if I'm right, we're about to discover that everything we know about humans is wrong. Fleet Admiral Zara Kess stood on the command bridge of her flagship, the Luminous Dawn. Around her ship, the largest military fleet in galactic history was moving through space toward human territory. 57 ships from 4 different species had joined together for this mission. Zara had been chosen to lead this fleet because she was considered the best military commander in the galaxy. She had won battles against pirates, rebels, and hostile species for 25 years. But this mission felt different from any other she had commanded. The official orders called this a routine inspection of human space capabilities. Everyone knew the real purpose was to find out if humans were hiding advanced military technology. After the Kralix incident, every major government in the galaxy wanted answers. Captain Roy Gibson stood next to Zara at the command station. Roy was her tactical advisor and had studied every known form of space warfare. He was looking at the fleet formation on the main display screen. "Admiral, our scouts report that human ships are approaching to meet us," Roy said. 5 vessels, just like our intelligence predicted. Zara nodded. Human diplomatic messages had been polite but firm. They would meet the inspection fleet at the edge of their space, but they would not allow foreign military vessels near Earth. This response was exactly what Zara had expected from a species trying to hide something. "What do our sensors tell us about the human ships?" Zara asked. Roy checked his instruments. They appear to be the same class as the vessel that fought the Kralix pirates. Old-looking hulls, basic energy signatures, and standard propulsion systems. Nothing that should concern a fleet of our size and power. Zara looked at the massive ships around her. The Altarian battlecruisers had quantum shields that could stop any known weapon. The Vortan siege platforms carried energy cannons powerful enough to destroy small moons. The hegemony swarm vessels moved in perfect coordination like a school of fish. Against this overwhelming force, 5 human ships should surrender immediately. If they tried to fight, the battle would be over in minutes. But Zara had read the reports about the Kralix engagement, and something about those reports troubled her. Lieutenant Commander Ben Taylor was aboard one of the approaching human ships, the UES Vengeance. Ben was monitoring the alien fleet through sensors that were far more advanced than anything the aliens suspected. He could see every ship, every weapon, and every defensive system in the massive formation. "Captain Morrison," Ben said over the communication system, "the alien fleet is even larger than we expected. 57 ships with enough firepower to level a continent." Jake Morrison's voice came back through the speakers from his ship, the UES Defiance. "Understood, Ben. Are you ready with the new systems?" Ben looked at his control panel. The human ships had been upgraded with technology that pushed the limits of physics itself. Gravity manipulation devices, quantum displacement fields, and weapons that could convert matter directly into pure energy. The aliens had no idea what they were about to face. "All systems are ready, Captain," Ben replied, "though I almost feel sorry for them." The 2 fleets met in the empty space between star systems. Admiral Zara opened a communication channel to the human ships. "This is Fleet Admiral Kess of the Galactic Defense Force. We are here to conduct a peaceful inspection of human military capabilities." Captain Morrison's face appeared on Zara's main screen. He was a calm-looking man with brown hair and steady eyes. He did not appear to be intimidated by the massive fleet surrounding his 5 small ships. "Admiral Kess, I am Captain Morrison of the Earth Defense Fleet," Jake said politely. "We appreciate your interest, but human vessels are not subject to foreign inspection. We must ask you to respect our territorial boundaries." Zara had expected this response. It was time to apply pressure. "Captain Morrison, the Galactic Council has serious concerns about human weapons development. We have evidence that your ships possess technology that violates several interstellar treaties." "I'm afraid our technology is entirely our own development," Jake replied. "We have broken no treaties and threatened no one. However, we will defend ourselves if attacked." Zara looked at her tactical display. 5 human ships against 57 of the galaxy's most advanced warships. The humans were either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. She decided to find out which. "Captain Morrison, if you refuse to submit to inspection, we will consider that an act of aggression against the Galactic Council. This is your final warning." Jake's expression did not change. "Admiral, I believe you may have misunderstood our capabilities. Allow me to demonstrate." Suddenly, the human ships vanished from every sensor screen in the alien fleet. Zara stared at her displays in confusion. 5 ships could not simply disappear from space. "Where did they go?" she demanded. Roy was checking every sensor system frantically. "Admiral, I'm not detecting them anywhere. It's like they just stopped existing." Then the attacks began. The first Vortan siege platform exploded without warning. Something had hit its main reactor, but no one had seen what fired the shot. Before anyone could react, 2 more ships suffered the same fate. "All ships, defensive positions," Zara ordered. "Find those human vessels!" But the human ships were not hiding. They were moving through space in ways that should have been impossible. They appeared behind alien formations, fired devastating attacks, then vanished again before return fire could be aimed. Ben Taylor watched his targeting computer calculate impossible angles of attack. The human ships could move through dimensions that the aliens did not even know existed. They could appear above, below, and even inside enemy formations. "This feels like cheating," Ben muttered as he fired another shot that destroyed a hegemony swarm vessel. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system. "Ben, we're not cheating. We're just playing a different game than they understand." The battle continued for 17 minutes. During that time, the human ships destroyed 34 alien vessels without taking a single hit in return. The advanced quantum shields of the Altarian cruisers proved useless against weapons that attacked matter itself at the subatomic level. Admiral Zara watched her fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy she could barely detect. The human weapons seemed to ignore shields, armor, and defensive systems completely. Her ships were being cut apart like paper. "Admiral," Roy said in a shaking voice, "we need to surrender before they destroy the entire fleet." Zara had never surrendered in her military career, but she had never faced an enemy like this either. The humans were not just defeating her fleet, they were demonstrating that her ships were completely helpless against their technology. She opened a communication channel to the remaining human ships. "Human vessels, this is Admiral Kess, we surrender. Please stop your attack." The explosion stopped immediately. Captain Morrison's face appeared on Zara's screen again. He looked exactly as calm as he had before the battle started. "Admiral, we accept your surrender," Jake said. "Please understand, this was not an attack on your people. This was simply a demonstration of why inspecting our ships would not be in your best interests." Zara looked at what remained of her fleet. 23 ships were still functional, but most of them were damaged. The others were debris floating in space. Her crew members were staring at their instruments in shock and fear. "Captain Morrison," Zara said slowly, "what kind of weapons were you using?" "Our sensors detected nothing." "The kind of weapons that your technology cannot understand yet," Jake replied. "We have been developing our capabilities for some time. Today seemed like an appropriate moment to share some of our progress with the galaxy." As the human ships prepared to return to their space, Jake opened a final communication to all surviving vessels in the alien fleet. "Please inform your governments that humans desire peaceful relations with all species. However, we also expect our sovereignty to be respected. I trust this demonstration has made our position clear." The message was recorded and transmitted across every military frequency in the galaxy within hours. The recording showed human ships moving like ghosts through space, destroying the most advanced military vessels ever built, then politely asking for peaceful relations. Admiral Zara returned to headquarters 3 days later. Her report was classified at the highest levels, but its content spread through intelligence networks across the galaxy. The humans were not the primitive species everyone had believed. They were something far more dangerous, a species that had learned to appear weak while developing overwhelming strength in secret. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. News of Admiral Kess's defeat traveled through the galaxy faster than light itself. Within 24 hours, emergency meetings were being held on every major world. The species that had ruled space for thousands of years suddenly found themselves facing an impossible reality. Humans were not primitive. Colonel Ryan Murphy sat in the command center of the UES Retribution, reading intelligence reports from across the galaxy. Ryan was in charge of Earth's military intelligence, and his job was to monitor how alien governments were reacting to the recent demonstration. "Captain Morrison," Ryan said over the communication system, "you should see these reports. Every major power in the galaxy is mobilizing their fleets." Jake Morrison was aboard his flagship, the UES Defiance, which was moving through space near Jupiter. Jake had become the unofficial commander of Earth's space forces after the successful demonstration against Admiral Kess. "How many ships are we looking at?" Jake asked. Ryan checked his data screens. "The Altarian Assembly is sending 200 ships. The Vortan Empire has mobilized their entire war fleet, nearly 300 vessels. The Hegemony Collective is assembling a swarm of over 400 ships. Combined with smaller fleets from other species, we're looking at approximately 1,000 enemy vessels." Jake was quiet for a moment. Earth had been preparing for this possibility for years. The demonstration against Admiral Kess had been designed to make other species reconsider their assumptions about human strength. Instead, it had convinced them that humans were a threat that needed to be eliminated. "Ryan, how many ships can we field?" Jake asked. "We have 57 vessels that are fully operational with the new technology," Ryan replied. "Another 23 ships are in final testing phases." The numbers were not encouraging. Even with superior technology, 80 human ships against 1,000 alien vessels would be a difficult battle. But Earth's leaders had planned for this scenario. They had been building weapons and ships that could fight outnumbered and win. Amy Foster was now commanding her own ship, the UES Dominance. Amy had been promoted to captain after the successful rescue of the Zephyrian cargo vessel. She was leading a patrol group near Mars when the alert came through. "All Earth ships return to defensive positions immediately," came the message from Fleet Headquarters. "Hostile forces are approaching the Sol system in overwhelming numbers." Amy ordered her ship to maximum speed. The Dominance could travel from Mars to Earth in less than 30 minutes, using its gravity manipulation engines. As she traveled, Amy thought about the training she had received for this exact situation. Human military planners had studied every alien species for 5 years. They knew the strengths and weaknesses of every type of ship, every weapon system, and every defensive technology in the galaxy. The aliens, meanwhile, knew almost nothing about real human capabilities. Ben Taylor was aboard the UES Vengeance, checking the readiness of his ship's experimental weapons. Ben had helped design the quantum disruption cannons that could tear apart matter at the atomic level. He had also worked on the temporal displacement shields that could move a ship slightly out of normal time to avoid attacks. "Captain Morrison," Ben said over the fleet communication channel, "our scientists have finished installing the dimensional phase generators on all ships. We can now operate in multiple dimensions simultaneously." This was the technology that Earth had been saving for a full-scale war. Human ships could now exist in several dimensions at once, making them nearly impossible to track or target. They could fire weapons from one dimension into another, appearing to attack from empty space. The alien fleets arrived at the edge of the Sol system 3 days later. They came from different directions, trying to surround the human home system. The Altarian ships approached from the direction of Alpha Centauri. The Vorton fleet moved in from the opposite side. The hegemony swarm spread out to cover all possible escape routes. Fleet Admiral Thys of the Altarian Assembly commanded the combined alien forces. She was considered the greatest military mind in the galaxy, and she had spent weeks planning this attack. The aliens would use overwhelming numbers to crush human resistance quickly. "All ships begin the assault," Admiral Thys ordered. "Remember, we are here to eliminate a threat to galactic peace. Show no mercy." The 1,000 alien ships moved toward Earth like a deadly cloud. Their weapons were charged and ready. Their shields were at maximum power. Every commander expected the humans to surrender when they saw the size of the attacking force. Instead, the human ships attacked first. Jake Morrison gave the order from his command center. "All ships activate dimensional phase generators. Begin assault pattern Alpha." Suddenly, the 80 human ships seemed to multiply. Each vessel appeared in several dimensions at once, creating the illusion of hundreds of human ships where there had been only dozens. The alien sensors could not determine which images were real and which were dimensional echoes. The human weapons began firing from multiple dimensions simultaneously. The aliens found themselves under attack from directions that should not have existed. Their ships were being hit by weapons that appeared to come from empty space. Colonel Ryan Murphy watched the battle unfold from his command post. The human ships were using technology that went beyond normal physics. They could fire through dimensions, move through time, and manipulate gravity itself as a weapon. "Captain Morrison," Ryan reported, "enemy casualties are mounting rapidly. Their shields and armor are useless against dimensional weapons. The Altarian quantum shields, which had protected their ships for centuries, collapsed when attacked by weapons that existed partially outside normal space. The Vorton energy cannons could not target enemies that flickered in and out of multiple dimensions. The hegemony swarm coordination broke down when their ships could not tell which human vessels were real. Amy Foster guided her ship through the battle like a dancer moving through a deadly performance. The Dominance could appear above an enemy formation, fire devastating attacks, then phase into a different dimension before return fire arrived. Her crew worked with perfect precision, destroying alien ships faster than they could count. "Amy," came Jake's voice over the communication system. "How are your ammunition levels?" "We're using the matter conversion weapons, Captain," Amy replied. "As long as we have space dust and debris, we have unlimited ammunition." This was another human advantage the aliens had not expected. Human weapons could convert any matter into directed energy attacks. The battlefield itself provided endless ammunition for human ships. Ben Taylor was amazed by how easy the battle had become. His ship's artificial intelligence could predict enemy movement several seconds into the future. The computer calculated optimal firing solutions that took into account quantum probability rather than simple physics. "This is not fair," Ben said to his crew. "We're fighting with technology they cannot even understand." But fairness had never been the point. Earth had spent years appearing weak while developing overwhelming technological superiority. The galaxy had treated humans as primitive children who needed protection and guidance. Now they were learning the price of underestimating an entire species. The battle lasted 4 hours and 23 minutes. During that time, the human fleet destroyed over 800 alien ships while losing only 3 of their own vessels. The survivors of the alien fleet retreated in complete panic, broadcasting emergency signals across the galaxy. Admiral Thiss, whose flagship had barely escaped destruction, sent a message to all remaining alien forces. "Retreat immediately. Human weapons are beyond our ability to counter. This is not a battle we can win." Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to all surviving alien ships as they fled the Sol system. "Commanders of the galactic fleets," he said in a calm voice, "this battle was unnecessary. Earth desires peaceful relations with all species. However, we will defend ourselves against any threat with whatever force is required." He paused for a moment before continuing. "Please inform your governments that what you witnessed today represents only a small portion of human military capabilities. We have been developing our technology for years while studying your strengths and weaknesses. We know how to defeat every weapon system and every ship design currently used by galactic forces." The message was recorded and transmitted to every capital world in the galaxy. Within hours, governments that had ruled space for millennia were calling emergency sessions to discuss surrender terms. The demonstration was complete. Humanity had revealed enough of their true strength to convince the galaxy that resistance was hopeless. But as Jake looked at the debris field around Earth, he knew that the hardest part was still ahead. Now they had to build a new galactic order where humans were no longer pretending to be weak. The galaxy would have to learn to live with the knowledge that the species they had dismissed as primitive were actually the most dangerous force in known space. 6 months after the great battle near Earth, Dr. Nathan Cross stood before a completely different galactic council. The elegant chamber that had once hosted representatives from dozens of powerful species now served as a meeting place for what remained of galactic civilization. Nathan had been Earth's diplomatic representative for years, always appearing humble and grateful for alien guidance. Now he stood as the architect of humanity's new position in the galaxy. The species that had once treated humans as children now waited nervously for his words. "Friends and colleagues," Nathan began, using the same polite tone he had always employed. "Earth is pleased to announce the formation of the new Galactic Alliance. This organization will ensure peace and cooperation between all species." Senior Counselor Thiss of the Altarian Assembly sat in her chair with her head bowed. Her people had lost most of their military fleet in the battle at Earth. The proud Altarians, who had considered themselves the galaxy's natural leaders, now depended on human protection for their survival. "Dr. Cross," Thiss said quietly, "the Altarian Assembly accepts membership in your alliance. We pledge to follow human guidance in all matters of galactic security." Similar statements came from representatives of every major species. The Vortan Empire, the Hegemony Collective, and dozens of smaller governments all agreed to join the human-led alliance. They had no choice. Their military forces had been destroyed, and their economies depended on trade routes that humans now controlled. Captain Amy Foster was aboard her ship, the UES Dominance patrolling what had once been Kralix territory. The pirates who had terrorized this region of space for decades had surrendered without a fight after news of Earth's military demonstration spread. Amy's job now was to protect the cargo ships and civilian vessels that traveled these routes. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving a distress call from a Zephyrian merchant vessel. They say a group of rebels is demanding tribute payments." Amy sighed. Even after the dramatic changes in galactic power, some groups still thought they could profit from violence and intimidation. These rebels would learn the same lesson that everyone else had learned about challenging human authority. "Take us to their location," Amy ordered, "and send a message to the rebels. Tell them they have 30 seconds to release the merchant ship and surrender, or they will be destroyed." The Dominants arrived at the location within minutes. Amy could see 3 small ships surrounding a large cargo vessel. The rebel ships were old and poorly maintained, clearly belonging to criminals who had been hiding in remote areas of space. Amy opened a communication channel to the rebel leader. "This is Captain Foster of the Earth Defense Fleet. Release the civilian vessel immediately and prepare to be taken into custody." The rebel leader's voice was full of anger and defiance. "Human ship, leave this area. We are not afraid of your threats. You are only one vessel against 3 of ours." Amy almost felt sorry for the rebels. They had been hiding in empty space for months and had no idea what human ships could really do. The galaxy's criminals were learning slowly that the old ways of doing business no longer worked. "You have 15 seconds to comply," Amy said calmly. Instead of surrendering, the rebel ships opened fire on the Dominants. Their energy weapons struck Amy's ship harmlessly, absorbed by shields that existed partially outside normal space. The rebels' sensors could not even detect the human ship's defensive systems. Amy activated her ship's targeting computers and fired once. All 3 rebel ships exploded simultaneously, destroyed by weapons that converted their own hull material into explosive energy. The Zephyrian merchant vessel was undamaged. "This is Captain Zyler of the merchant ship Blue Wind," came a familiar voice over the communication channel. "Captain Foster, thank you for your assistance. I'm the same officer who was rescued by Captain Morrison 6 months ago." Amy smiled. Captain Zyler had been one of the first aliens to witness human military capabilities. His rescue by Jake Morrison had started the chain of events that led to Earth's current position of power. "Captain Zyler, it's good to hear from you again," Amy replied. "Are you injured? Do you need assistance with repairs?" "No injuries and no damage to my ship," Captain Zyler answered. "But I wanted to thank you for what humans have done for galactic peace. Trade routes that were dangerous for decades are now safe. Criminals and pirates are afraid to attack civilian vessels." This was true throughout the galaxy. Human patrol ships had eliminated most criminal organizations within 3 months of the Great Battle. Pirates, rebels, and raiders had all discovered that human weapons could find and destroy them, no matter where they tried to hide. Meanwhile, Colonel Ryan Murphy was working from his headquarters on Earth, coordinating the transformation of galactic civilization. Ryan's job had changed from military intelligence to something like galactic administration. Earth was now responsible for maintaining peace across hundreds of star systems. "Captain Morrison," Ryan said over a secure communication channel, "I have the latest reports from our survey teams. They've discovered 14 new star systems with inhabited planets beyond the galaxy's edge." Jake Morrison was aboard his flagship, exploring the outer regions of known space. His mission was to make contact with any species that humans had not yet encountered. Earth's policy was to approach new civilizations carefully, studying them before revealing human capabilities. "What do we know about these new species?" Jake asked. Ryan consulted his data files. "Most of them appear to be at early stages of technological development. None have achieved faster-than-light travel yet. Our anthropology teams recommend making subtle contact to assess their cultures and intentions." This was the approach that Earth had used with the established galactic powers. Appear weak and primitive, while learning everything possible about potential allies or enemies. The difference now was that humans were no longer pretending to be helpless. Ben Taylor was working in a laboratory on Earth, developing even more advanced technologies for future use. Ben's current project involved weapons that could affect entire star systems at once. Earth's leaders wanted to be prepared for any threat that might emerge from unexplored regions of space. "Dr. Cross," Ben said during a video call with Earth's diplomatic headquarters, "the new dimensional weapons are ready for testing. But I have to ask, do we really need weapons this powerful? We've already demonstrated that our current technology can defeat any known military force." Nathan considered the question carefully. Earth had revealed only a small portion of their real capabilities during the recent battles. The ships and weapons that had destroyed the galactic fleets were actually Earth's older, less advanced systems. "Ben," Nathan replied, "we've learned that the galaxy is a dangerous place. We spent years appearing weak while secretly building strength. Now we're in a position of power, but we need to stay ahead of any potential threats. Other species will be studying our technology and trying to develop counters to our weapons. This was already happening. Intelligence reports showed that several species were attempting to reverse engineer human technology from the debris of destroyed ships. So far, their efforts had failed because human weapons used physics principles that other species had not yet discovered. Captain Amy Foster completed her patrol and returned to Earth for a meeting with Fleet Command. As she traveled through the Sol system, Amy could see the massive construction projects taking place around every planet. Earth was building new ships, weapons, and defensive systems at an incredible pace. "Amy," Jake Morrison said when she arrived at the meeting, "how are conditions in the outer territories?" "Peaceful," Amy reported. "Most criminal organizations have been eliminated or have gone into hiding. The remaining rebels are too frightened to attack civilian vessels. Trade is flowing freely for the first time in decades." Jake nodded. This had been one of Earth's main goals in revealing their military strength. The galaxy had been ruled by fear and violence for too long. Species fought endless wars over resources and territory while pirates and criminals made normal life impossible for billions of people. "What about the established governments?" Jake asked. "How are they adapting to the new situation?" Amy consulted her reports. "Better than expected. The Altarians are focusing on art and science now that they don't need to maintain a military. The Vortons are developing new technologies for peaceful purposes. The Hegemony Collective is working on improving trade and communication systems. For the first time in galactic history, the major species were cooperating instead of competing. They had no choice since humans controlled the military balance of power. But many were discovering that peace was more profitable than war." Dr. Nathan Cross concluded the council meeting by announcing Earth's long-term plans for galactic development. The new Galactic Alliance will focus on exploration, scientific advancement, and peaceful trade. Military conflicts between member species are now prohibited and will be prevented by human intervention. As the alien representatives filed out of the council chamber, Nathan reflected on how completely the situation had changed. 6 months ago, humans had been treated as primitive newcomers who needed protection and guidance. Now they were the guardians of galactic civilization. But Nathan knew that Earth's greatest achievement was not the